This episode is adapted from a clinician-written article on Mentalyc and brought to life in audio for therapists who prefer listening on the go.
And it's a great one. This piece was written by Angela M. Doe, a psychotherapist, and we're just really excited to feature her perspective today.
Absolutely. And for anyone who might be new to us, since the article does come from Mentalyc, it helps to know it's a clinical intelligence platform designed to make clinical documentation and reflection much more manageable for therapists.
Which we love. You know, Anya, reading through these ideas got me thinking about a specific client I had a few years ago. He was just stuck. I mean, truly stuck. He'd been in and out of therapy for years, tried CBT, tried psychodynamic approaches, and he came to me with this sense of complete frustration, like, why isn't anything working for me?
Oh, I know that client, the one who has all the intellectual insight in the world. They can tell you why they do what they do, but they just can't seem to change it. It's heartbreaking to witness.
Exactly. And that's precisely the territory of schemas, isn't it? It's not about a lack of insight. It's about these deep foundational beliefs that were wired in so early on, these negative blueprints about ourselves and the world that just keep playing out on a loop.
Yes, blueprints. That's the perfect word. It's like they were handed a faulty map for relationships and for life when they were kids because their core needs weren't met. Needs for connection, for safety, for autonomy. And now, as adults, they're still trying to navigate a complex world with this map that keeps leading them into the same walls.
The same walls, again and again. With my client, it was a profound abandonment schema. He was so terrified of people leaving him that he would become, well, almost suffocatingly clingy in relationships. He was constantly seeking reassurance, texting nonstop, panicking if his partner didn't reply within 5 minutes. Of course, that behavior often ended up pushing people away, which then just reinforced his core belief, see, people always end up rejecting me.
The self-fulfilling prophecy. It's so painful. And it's so different from, say, the defectiveness schema. That one's more internal. It's not just people will leave me, it's people will leave me because I am fundamentally flawed.
I'm unlovable. If they really knew me, they would be disgusted and run away. It's a belief steeped in shame. The client with an abandonment schema might cling, but the one with a defectiveness schema often isolates. They hide. They build walls not to keep others out, but to keep their perceived badness in.
And they become masters of disguise, don't they? They might be the most charming person in the room, the funniest, the most successful, but it's all a performance designed to cover up this deep-seated belief that they are, at their core, just not good enough. It's exhausting for them.
Utterly exhausting. And then there's the cousin to that, the emotional deprivation schema. This one is so subtle, I find. It's not the loud fear of abandonment, but this quiet, pervasive belief that one's needs for care, empathy, and protection will just never be met. These are the clients who can be in a seemingly loving relationship and still feel profoundly alone.
Yes, they can't receive the love. It's like they have this emotional armor on, and even when affection or support is offered, it just bounces off. They can't internalize it because their blueprint says, this isn't real, no one really cares, so they dismiss it or they don't even notice it.
They don't have a category for it. They'll disqualify the positive. Their partner does something wonderful, and the internal narrative is, well, they just did that because they feel guilty or they want something from me. It's an incredibly lonely way to live.
It really is. And this is where it gets so complex because it's not just about having the schema, right? It's about what we do to cope with the pain of that belief. The coping styles are where the rubber really meets the road in therapy. The schema maintenance, the avoidance, the compensation.
That's the key. The schema is the wound.
but the coping style is the faulty bandage we keep applying. So schema avoidance, that's the client with the mistrust abuse schema, maybe from a childhood filled with betrayal, who just decides, I'm not doing relationships, period. They avoid intimacy at all costs to prevent any possibility of being hurt again.
Right. They don't go to parties. They keep conversations superficial. They never let anyone get close. The schema never gets challenged because they never enter the arena. And then you have schema maintenance, which is what your client was doing. He maintained his abandonment schema by acting in ways that, unfortunately, pushed people away.
Exactly. He was perpetuating the pattern. But the most fascinating one to me is schema compensation, the overcorrection. I had a client with a deep-seated failure schema, this core belief that she was incompetent and bound to fail. But on the outside, she was a high-powered attorney working 80 hours a week, a ruthless perfectionist.
The overcompensator. So she's not avoiding failure. She's trying to beat it into submission. She's compensating for the feeling of being a failure by becoming this icon of success. But I bet she never felt successful.
Never. Not for a second. Every victory was just a temporary reprieve from the feeling of being an imposter. She'd win a huge case, and for about 5 minutes, she'd feel okay. And then the thought would creep in, well, I got lucky that time. The next one is when they'll all find out I'm a fraud. It's a relentless, painful cycle.
It sounds like a perfect example of the unrelenting standard schema, too. That belief that one must be the best, always striving, never resting. It's often fused with other schemas like defectiveness or failure. The high standards are the shield used to protect the vulnerable part that feels worthless.
Completely. And think about the subjugation schema. The person who believes they must submit to the control of others to avoid punishment or rejection. On the surface, they're the ultimate people pleaser, agreeable, helpful, never makes waves.
Oh, I see this one so often. The client who says yes to everything at work, at home. Their own needs are always on the back burner. But underneath that compliant exterior, there's often a current of, resentment? Anger?
A volcano of resentment. They feel trapped. They feel like they have no voice. And they often don't even know they're angry. It just comes out sideways in passive-aggressive comments or somatic symptoms, or sometimes in these sudden, shocking explosions over something tiny because they've been suppressing their needs for so long.
And that moment in therapy when you can finally help them connect the dots, when you can say, it sounds like this is the subjugation schema at play, it's like a light bulb goes on. Just naming it can be so incredibly validating. It takes it from, I'm a bad person for feeling so angry, to, oh, this is a pattern. This is a thing with a name. It has a history.
It externalizes the problem. It's not them, it's the schema. That's why those initial assessments are so powerful. When clients see their life experiences mapped onto these patterns, there's this huge sigh of relief. They finally have a framework to understand why they feel the way they do.
But holding all those frameworks in your head as a clinician, that's the challenge, right? You're tracking the presenting problem, the history, the schema that you're hypothesizing, the coping style they're using in the moment, all while trying to be present and empathetic.
Oh, it's a mental juggling act. You're listening to the story about their boss, but you're hearing the echo of the unrelenting standard schema, and you're noticing the subjugation coping mode and how they describe the interaction. It's a lot to process in real time.
It really is. And honestly, that's where I've found tools like the Mentalyc AI note taker to be such a game changer. It's not about replacing my clinical thought, not at all. It's about augmenting it. I can stay fully present with the client, really focused on the emotional connection, knowing that the key themes and narratives are being captured. Later, when I review my session note draft, I can see the patterns laid out so clearly. It'll highlight phrases like, I can never get it right, or I had to just go along with it. And it's like a beacon for the schema.
Oh, I can see that. So it helps you zoom out after the session and see the forest for the trees. You're not trying to frantically scribble down unrelenting standards in the middle of an emotional moment. Then you can take that insight and build it right into the treatment plan. It becomes so much more targeted.
Exactly. I can even use something like the AI treatment plan feature to help me formulate goals directly tied to that schema. So if we've identified a defectiveness schema, a goal isn't just improve self-esteem. It's more specific, like client will identify and challenge 3 instances of self-criticism per week, or client will practice self-compassion by reframing one flaw as a neutral characteristic. It makes the therapeutic work so much more concrete and measurable.
That makes so much sense. It connects the dots from the in-session discovery to the out-of-session work. It turns this big, scary concept of a schema into a manageable, step-by-step process for change.
Quick pause here. If this part of the work feels familiar, that juggling act of tracking deep patterns while staying present, Mentalyc can really help. Its AI note-taker supports your documentation and clinical judgment, letting you focus on your client. And it's all fully HIPAA and SOC 2 compliant. You can explore it for yourself at Mentalyc.com.
So, picking back up on that, beyond the identifying and the planning, the real heart of schema therapy is the therapeutic relationship itself, isn't it? It's about becoming the antidote to those unmet childhood needs. This is what we call limited reparenting.
Yes, it's so beautiful when it happens. For the client with the abandonment schema, we provide consistency and reliability. We show up on time every week. We don't abandon them, even when they're pushing us away to test us. We provide a secure base. For the client with the defectiveness schema, we offer genuine acceptance and validation, seeing the good in them even when they can't see it in themselves.
And it's done with what's called empathic confrontation. It's not aggressive. It's a very gentle, I understand why you feel the need to hide this part of yourself. And I want to challenge that belief. I see you differently. You're holding both the empathy for the origin of the schema and the firm, warm challenge to its validity now.
And then you get into the experiential work. This is my favorite part. It's not just talking about the past, it's about going back and changing the emotional memory of it. Things like imagery rescripting, where you have the client visualize a painful childhood memory, and then you, as the therapist, step into the image to protect the child version of them, to give them what they needed then.
It is incredibly powerful. I've seen clients weep with relief during those exercises. It's like a part of their brain that has been frozen in time finally gets to thaw out and heal. Or chair work, where they can have a dialogue between their schema-driven part and their healthy adult part. It makes the internal conflict external and manageable.
It really does. It gives them agency over their internal world. But of course, the change can't just live in the therapy room. The homework is essential. The structured assignments they do between sessions are what build the muscle for long-lasting change. They're actively practicing challenging those negative thoughts and behaviors in their real life.
Absolutely. And tracking that progress is so important for their motivation. When a client is stuck in a negativity, pessimism schema, they literally can't see the good. Their brain is wired to filter for the negative. So being able to show them concrete evidence of their progress is vital.
That's another place where I found technology can be a helpful ally. The progress tracking feature in Mentalyc, for instance, can be so illuminating. It can analyze themes across multiple sessions. So I can sit with a client and say, let's look at this. 8 weeks ago, our sessions were filled with language about hopelessness and feeling trapped. Now, look at the themes from the last 2 weeks. We're seeing words like choice, trying, and possibility. Do you see that shift?
Wow. So you're giving them objective data to fight back against the schema's subjective negativity. That's brilliant. You're co-creating a new narrative with them, backed by evidence from their own words. That must be incredibly empowering for the client.
It really is. It helps them build that healthy adult mode, the part of them that can observe the schema without getting consumed by it. There are some schemas that are just so harsh, so tough to work with, like the punitiveness schema.
That one is brutal. The belief that people, themselves included, should be harshly punished for any mistake. There's no room for grace, no room for humanity. It's not just self-criticism. It's a genuine belief that they deserve to suffer for their shortcomings.
And it creates such a rigid, unforgiving worldview. They are incredibly hard on themselves, but they're also incredibly hard on others. A partner forgets to pick up milk from the store, and in their mind, it's not just an oversight, it's a moral failing that deserves condemnation. It makes intimacy almost impossible.
Impossible, because who can live up to that standard of perfection? And working with that in therapy requires so much patience. You have to model self-compassion and forgiveness relentlessly. You have to be a constant, gentle voice of grace in the face of their internal judge, jury, and executioner.
Which is why this work, while so effective, is also so demanding on us as clinicians. We have to be so grounded in our own healthy adult mode to be able to offer that stability and compassion without getting pulled into their world of criticism. I think if there's one core insight to take away from all of this, it's that identifying the schema is really just the opening act.
I agree. The real work, the main event, is in first understanding the coping style that keeps it alive, and then, with tremendous empathy and a strong therapeutic alliance, helping the client to bravely build and practice a new, healthier way of meeting their needs.
That's it exactly. It's a co-creative process of reinventing their life, just like the book title says. And a practical takeaway for clinicians listening today could be something really simple.
Go on.
Just start listening for the extreme language, the always and the never. When a client says, "I'll never be good enough," or "people always let me down," or "I have to be the best," that right there, that's often the flashing neon sign pointing directly to a core schema. It's the doorway in.
That's a great tangible tip. It's not about having all 18 schemas memorized. It's about listening for the pain, for the rigid absolute beliefs that are keeping your client trapped. That's the starting point.
It is. And if you want support in spotting those patterns and that specific language across sessions, the AI note taker in Mentalyc can truly help you reflect on those themes. So you don't have to carry it all in your head during the session. It frees you up to just be with your client.
A valuable co-pilot in very deep work. Anya, this was such a rich conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Always a pleasure. It's good to be in the trenches together.